we'll record it to the cloud for you. There we go. Okay. You got it.
Awesome. Hi, Ashley. Welcome. Okay. Well, guys, this is Joe over there. Say hi, Joe.
Hello.
He's out of our Otsego office, and hi, darling. He's at a high level of success with Facebook lead ads. Joe, when we were messaging prior to this, I asked you, how many ads you've run. Do you have any?
I didn't pull the exact number. I think through command I've done 30 or 35, which was just really start of the year into last year. I started dabbling, and then probably about January rolled over everything. Prior to that, I had a marketing coach that I was paying $500 a month just to coach me just on Facebook ads through basically all of last year. So I honestly don't know how many we would do, but we would split test and run like hundreds of ads, A/B testing and all that. So quite a few.
Wow. So you really do have a deep level of expertise in this then. That's great.
I spend enough money that I better know what I'm doing.
Oh, that's good. So we were saying last year your average cost per lead prior to command was about $5.
Yep, running it straight through Ads Manager. That also doesn't really include, we were doing, video view campaigns, warming up the audience, retargeting, all this fancy Wizmos. So it doesn't even include all the extra ad spend for doing those kinds of things. But we were typically about $5 was the metrics.
And if I remember correctly, you said you're paying about $2.50 now, $2.50 through command.
Yep.
So that's a great savings.
Yeah, way less time, way less complicated, and it's half the cost. So how could I say no? So
less time, less complicated, and half the cost. Wow.
Yeah.
And have you given up your marketing coach then?
Yes, she didn't make it through the first of the year.
Oh, wow. You are way ahead of the game now.
Yeah.
Okay. And how is it going so far at generating leads? And are you having immediate business or seeing a lot of long-term business coming in?
No, that's something that I really had to learn. I've been really at it for maybe a year and a half, 2 years running Facebook ads. You really have to get the mindset of this is a long-term play. There aren't low-hanging fruit nearly as often with Facebook leads. So I about 5 minutes before the call, I went, I should have seen what my average nurture time has been for closings. I would have to guess it's around 6 months from the time a lead comes in to when you're actually working with them to getting closed. I think I've heard generic numbers of like 6 to 18 months, which is obviously really vague, but no, it's very rare that somebody calls, they're actually ready to go, and they'll commit to you, and they're qualified to buy, and everything.
Right.
Yep.
Still at $2.50 a lead.
Yep.
You can wait 6 months,
Yeah, exactly. And it's filling the pipeline. So I've always got a whole number that I'm following up with. And whenever one's ready, I'll make sure that I'm there with follow-up and everything else, to get you a better ROI in the long run. But you got to look at ROI and through the lens of like 2 years, I think, to really decide what your ROI is going to be.
That's great. And I hear the phrase speed to lead thrown around. Yes. Is that something that you think is a real thing through Facebook lead ads? Like how quickly you're responding to those is a...
Sure. Well, I mean, it's probably a part of a broader conversation of just how are you following up with them in general? Do you have a system? Are you doing it yourself? Are you using something like Smart Plans, which is kind of a hybrid between fully automated and not automated? My personal response is I've got, it's a company called Verse, or maybe you've heard of Conversion Monster. Essentially, all of my Facebook leads immediately goes to them, and they follow up with them immediately with texts, with emails, with calls if it's a landline. So they're very instant. And I do think speed to lead is super important. However, that initial contact, in my opinion, isn't necessarily as important as continuous, constant interaction over the next week. Because they're probably going to ignore your first one anyways, or be unavailable or whatever. But then it's like when they keep seeing you in a text, in a video text, in an email, in a phone call, whatever, then you start to get that top of mind awareness so that they actually even know who you are. Initial contact is great, but if you if you call them once instantly when the lead comes in, but then you don't call them again for 3 or 4 or 5 days, they've forgotten about you anyways. And the benefit of your speed to that lead is going to get offset very quickly if it's not also consistency over, you know, the next days and weeks and months.
Terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you go ahead and just walk us through what you do, what is most effective. And for those of you on the call, you can either unmute yourself if you have a question or type it in the Zoom chat box, and I'll be monitoring that for Joe as he's going through his presentation. Again, thanks so much for being with us, Joe.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to be here. So I'm also the tech ambassador for our office, so I teach several different classes every month. So I grabbed one of the slides that that I run my agents in our market center through. So I'm gonna, let me share my screen to you in just a sec. I'm trying to do like 2 screens and see you and everything else. Give me just a second. So I want to run you through kind of just a number of things that I think if you don't have the right mindset going into Facebook ads, it's going to be completely worthless for you anyways. And so, but I'm just going to run through these real quick, and then we're going to get really into the meat and potatoes of what I'm doing. So first of all, you've got to see your lead gen as prospecting or marketing. What's really interesting is Facebook lead ads, in my opinion, is kind of like half of each, in that prospecting is obviously the things you see there: door knock calling, networking, open houses, things like that. Marketing is what we're talking about today with Facebook, but it's a whole number of different things. The difference though is marketing, you're spending your money to save the time. Prospecting, you're spending time to save money. Facebook is really both. It's not like some prospecting where, you know, you hold an event and you get a referral immediately. So that was just time. And it's not just like, you know, geo farming where you're doing postcards and hoping that someone calls you back, but you're not doing any follow-up. You're spending the money and you have to spend some time, but I think it's a really nice combination of both so that I can still scale it without it being too demanding on my time, right? So positives and negatives of marketing is you've got to go into it expecting slower results. You know, when I first started, I was the worst, right? I'd be like, okay, cool, I generated 30 leads. Who's got my money? Where's my business? You know, what am I closing? You have to get the mindset of, okay, cool, I'm going to look up in a year from now, and then I'm going to decide if it was worth it based on the leads that I got, the return that I got, and so on. It's obviously more expensive because you got to spend the money, but it's then passive, and you can just keep turning up the dial as you make money from it, reinvesting the money back into it. So I do really like that. But the negatives, though, with prospecting is, again, we're doing a hybrid thing between the two of them. With your Facebook ads, if you don't follow up with them, you do still have to spend the time to follow up, with your Facebook leads to get the results. But Facebook isn't, again, it isn't nearly as expensive as, you know, running a radio ad or, you know, getting a billboard or something like that. So that's the whole point of it all. And it's all 100% in the follow-up. We're going to talk a lot about follow-up, but, you know, I think everyone starts with focusing on how do I get the lead, which is fine, but kind of any bozo could do it halfway decent, right? I did when I was terrible, you know, back in the day. But if you follow up appropriately, that's where the money's at. So really quick analogy. I want you to think of it like a sales funnel, okay? Goal is obviously to get more people in your funnel, nurture them along the way, and then don't let them escape by getting poached off by some other agent, right? Think of the top as being very cold, the bottom as being hot, which just goes to their motivation. The point of it is, I want you to look at this and see marketing, you need a whole lot more leads coming in, and they're going to be a whole lot higher in the funnel, generally a lot colder. Prospecting is going to be hotter leads. They're more ready to go now. You did a client appreciation event and you got that lead and you closed the referral sooner. But there's a lot fewer of them coming in. Okay, so it's higher volume, colder, and a longer nurture time. But again, it's a lot cheaper and more scalable in some ways. So then lead follow-up and 33 touch, you've heard of those a ton, obviously, through KW. We're going to talk again how to specifically follow up with the Facebook leads today, but I just want you to see in the whole context of your entire database, with everybody in it, this is the process that you're taking them through to nurture them through the bottom till they pop out as a closed client, right? And then obviously they go back in, nurture them again until they're ready again in a few years. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's not rocket science, but if you see you're hoping for this, but then you end up with this, you're going to be thoroughly disappointed, and you'll waste a lot of money because you didn't have enough of a long-term game that you were looking at it. So, and you guys can stop me at any time, ask some questions. I'm totally cool with that. Let's talk about following up with your leads. First of all, if you Google 10 days of pain, you're going to come up with all kinds of different follow-up systems. Zillow's got one, Brivity's got one, Market Leader's got one. To be honest, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, exactly what you do, it doesn't really matter if you have the exact right system for following up with your leads. But as you can see here, I just took a screenshot. I think this one's from Zillow. Day one, you send them a call and an email. Day two, you email and text. Day three, you send them a text. I don't think it really matters if you text a little more here, call a little more there, however many emails you do. I just want you to get kind of the visual of how many times you need to touch your leads. This is within 10 days in order to really get the conversion numbers that you're going to be hoping for. They also, I've heard said, kind of anywhere from like 1 to 3% is a normal conversion number for your leads. Excuse me again. So you generate 100 leads, you'll probably close one of them. Okay, 2, 3 maybe. I just pulled my last numbers and I'm at like 0.7%, so even less than 1%. Personally, I don't really care, to be honest, as much as the money that I'm making relative to the money that I'm spending. But again, if you have a mindset of like, hey, I got these 10 people that, you inquired to me, so I'm just trying to help you out. Well, they're so high in the funnel that you have to have that bigger volume of them to get for that 1% goal. So anyhow, and I'm gonna walk you through in Command.
Joe, do they eventually move down the pipeline for you?
Yes, that whole.
Or do they just wash out? So it's just a longer time.
Absolutely right. Yep. They all come in at different points in the funnel relative to, oh, we're just dreaming about 5 years from now when I retire. Super cold, right? To we're getting pre-approved right now and we need to buy in the next few months, right? So they're all at different stages that they come into your funnel. You're just nurturing them all the way down through. 10 days of pain really is, it's the connection you're trying to make. The whole point of this really is just to start the conversation and to build a connection, build rapport, to start giving them value. This isn't the long-term play, right? But this would be if you want to do it yourself. And some of this you can also automate with Command or different CRMs. I'm going to show you as well, but inside of Command 2, you can sign up for Twilio. They will do some of the texting for you automatically, which is pretty slick. That's one automated system. It's pretty cheap. I don't use it currently because I've got this company, which is Verse. Just another system I want to show you. So it's my opinion that as soon as you can, you shift your lead follow-up to a company like Verse. Or there's another one that's very, very similar called Conversion Monster that you might have heard of from the Future kind of it. But basically Verse or Conversion Monster, these are OSA companies. So it's like a phone bank. And I'm gonna actually switch screens. I'm gonna show you my Verse account. So here's my Verse account. I told you right away, all my Facebook leads come right into here. They then are being nurtured. So we can go see, new leads. Once they either respond negatively or they don't respond for a good length of time, they'll be unqualified. But then obviously somebody will pop over as qualified, right? So then I can go in here. Here's kind of an example, right? This is their text conversation that they had. The vast majority of people prefer texting. So then this one will say, hi, Ornery, this is Alex with Joe Carmack's office. That's like the gender neutral name for my assistant that the whole company goes by. So if they call, either a man or a woman can call and they just go by Alex, which I think is kind of funny. But they'll say, hey, thanks for inquiring on this property. And then they go through a series of questions with them, basically to qualify them. What kind of house you're looking for, what kind of budget you're looking at, what kind of time frame. And then once they respond positively, then it pops it over to me, and then I'll engage and start following up. Get them on an MLS search, set an appointment for a consult, get them a home valuation, start the pre-approval, whatever it is. So a system like this is really, really slick. The biggest thing with this, so if I go, let's see, all lead sources for all time. So it looks like in the last, just over a year, I think I started May last year, I've generated 800 leads. About a third of those they've qualified, and they've qualified them by doing all of this, right? 300 phone calls, almost 10,000 text messages, 1,600 emails, right? So tons and tons and tons of follow-up to convert those. Off of that 800, I did the math, I closed 6 transactions from there, okay? My ROI this year is like 5.7. Last year was like 3.5. So
when you say 5.7, you're saying for every dollar invested, you're getting 5.7 back?
Yes, but here's what's really tricky. So first of all, I don't really even look at ROI, to be completely honest, because in my mind, I haven't been doing it long enough to really say, okay, 2 years later, I've really got the system perfected, sure. And so now I'm getting whatever ROI. And I would strongly encourage everybody that's getting into this to not even consider ROI, okay? But if you want to, which it was what I focused on like crazy when I first started, you've also got to figure out what are you going to, how are you going to calculate your ROI? So for me, I add up Facebook ad spend and my verse spend. Mm-hmm. This company is $600 a month, okay? So it's not cheap, but so between my ad spend and my verse, I put those two together. That's my Facebook advertising budget, and GCI over that expense. For the year, I'm at 5.7. So if you, to be honest, if you wanted to skew the numbers, if I really wanted to impress you, I would just like skip, including verse, and just say, well, if I was just doing my Facebook ad spend, whatever, it'd be like a 20x or something crazy. Yeah. I don't think that's reasonable, and I don't think it's going to serve your business. But you can look at it, and if you're going to do it all yourself, and if you're going to be disciplined enough to make these kinds of interactions with your leads, you could absolutely save that money. It's just not very scalable. For me to send 10,000 text messages is not practical. For me to follow up with them immediately isn't practical. You can even see here, like 43% are the leads come in over the weekend or at night. I'm going to be at dinner with my family. I'm not going to be following up with these people. So, so that's why I think there's a ton of value in a company like this. I actually think Conversion Monster is a little bit better, which is funny, but I've already been with First, and I don't care to switch right now. You know what I mean? But so you do you know
if either one of them are integrated with Command?
Currently, no. However, Conversion Monster won the FutureCon event, and the winner of that got to basically go to the front of the line for integration inside of Command. And so I haven't heard anything as far as where that's at, but I do know that they're like the top of the list to get integrated, so that when you bring your lead in through Command, it just automatically goes to Conversion Monster, and they can sync notes and everything back and forth. If and when they do that, I'll probably switch, to be honest with you. I've been nothing but happy with Verse, but I have heard that Conversion Monster does a little bit better at the longer follow-up. But even these guys will follow up with them for 6 months. So, that's pretty good as far as I'm concerned.
Great.
So, any other questions, or else we can jump into Command and I can show you how to start doing some follow-up inside of there. Anybody? Okay, you guys are a quiet bunch. I'll take it. Yeah, let's go into Smart Plans, I guess, and we'll start there. And then we can certainly jump in and talk about, I know you wanted to talk, Wendy, about types of ads that work the best, and we'll definitely talk on them too. So first of all, inside of Command, you always want to make sure you've done your marketing profile, which is up in your settings, and then go to Connect. I think it's Connect Profile and then Marketing Profile. once you've done that, that'll pull all the information into here, which is what we're looking at. Currently with smart plans, just so you know what the system can and can't do currently, it won't automatically start the smart plan for you. They're working on that, which will have triggers so that as soon as your internet lead comes in, it automatically applies a smart plan and starts to execute. So that way we'll be able to immediately send a text and an email follow-up. But it's not currently there. So you will have to go in once they come in. I would say maybe the next morning that you're doing your lead gen. You can sort your contacts by the leads that came in that night, and then you can apply a smart plan that you've created. Okay. So within here, and I'm not even going to go through the whole process with you, just for the sake of time. You can just go in here, you can create, and then essentially you can just put in what you want for your 10 days of pain. Okay, so if I switch my screen, I'll show you that one again. Okay, so again, I can basically come in here and I can say, okay, on day one, give me a task to remind me to call them. Immediately, you would have canned emails and have it send an email once it's ready. Currently, email and command isn't working 100% automated, but you can still have them all pre-built and then ready to send out. Day one email, day two email, day two text. So you can create those inside of your smart plan right here. Okay, so obviously I'm going to create myself a task and say I want a touch task of something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then from those, if you Google the 10 days of pain, you can then type in here what your description is, whatever you want it to be. Send a text. One of them that I have heard is really good is like, hi, first name, or I'm sorry. Okay, do something like that, right? When you send that, if I text you, Wendy, right now and I say, hey, is this Wendy? What are you going to do? You're going to be like, yeah, who is this? And then bam, you got them. They are interacting. They started a dialogue. I don't know who I heard that from, but I think that's a killer way to start a conversation because you can't just not respond. But if you're like, hey, this is Joe Carmack with Keller Williams, and I saw you inquired on 123 Main Street and blah, 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 blah. Like, nope, I'm good. And they'll ignore you. But now you've kind of sucked them into a conversation and they can't say no, right? So you can do that there. If you want to, and this probably wasn't a great example, but you can do that automatically if you sign up for Twilio, because you can just create the send a text message script and you can type that here to do it automatically, right? So instead of having this one here, that's your task to remind to follow up, maybe this would then be, right? Phone call number one, and then you put your script right here. Okay, so then every time you get your task, you know exactly what you're going to say to that person. If you want to set up your Twilio account, then you can, and this will tell you exactly your text, right? Hi, is this, and then you put in right here the fields, and then give me my contact first name, right? So then immediately that text will go out as soon as you start them on the smart plan, okay? Mm-hmm. So now you can kind of go through it and finish this out for yourself with 10 days of pain. Give yourself a task to remind to call them and a text that goes out automatically through Twilio. Send an email number one, email number two. Inside of here, you can also do a delay. So you can set a delay. So if I click that, okay, wait 2 days, and then I want another task to send them another text message, right? So send them a text, wait 2 days, send them another text. You can build this out however you want. I wouldn't overthink it at all. Google 10 days of pain, find one that you like, pop it in here. They'll give you the scripts and everything else, and you can build out the whole smart plan just like that.
I heard somebody say yesterday that it took them about 45 minutes to build one out. Yeah. And then it just worked like clockwork. After that, it was nothing.
Yep.
And I did, to the agents at our office, I did send out an email at one point about how to set up a Twilio account if you are interested, and to buy a local number if you'd like. So I will try and find that and send it out to you again.
Yep. Tons of resources. I know Nick Baldwin's got a follow-up plan as well. I actually tried to find it before the class and I couldn't find where he has that, but absolutely. So you can get a local Twilio number. So I don't know what you guys do, but like if I want to share my contact with somebody, then I can, I'll share my contact card with them. So you can just put your Twilio number in there essentially as your office text number or whatever. So then they have it saved. They know who's calling for your own people. But then even when you're having your conversations with people, once they become responsive, you call them for the first time and you can be like, hey, just, this is my personal cell phone. You can save it in your phone and you don't have to respond to the office number, so very, very easy that way. I know they're still working on getting additional features out, like the automatic trigger. They're working on, better email integrations and stuff. That will all improve. But to be honest, I think when you're starting out with this, you need to just implement and execute on what you've got. And you can have pre-written emails that, okay, I got my 10 people I need to follow up with today, and this one needs email number 1, and this one needs email number 3, and and you'll get a hold of people. You have a reasonable conversion, even just based off of that. Doing that for a while before you're ready to scale up enough that you need to hire a company to help you. That's what I did for quite a while, and frankly, it worked fine. I just outgrew that in the number of leads I was trying to pull in, and my ability to follow up with them consistently enough. So, any other questions regarding follow-up? And then we can switch to actually looking at some Facebook ads and best practices there. Anybody have anything you want me to hit on?
Okay. I'm looking in the chat here. Someone said verse and conversion, and I just said those are follow-up systems that you've purchased, right?
Correct. Yep.
Providers that have an automated system.
Yep, they're basically an OSA, outside sales associate.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions? And Jen, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Okay, let's get into some Facebook ads. And I can go in about a million different directions. So you guys let me know what you guys want and what's most valuable for you. I said like, well, there's no point in me teaching you how to run an ad. But maybe I'll do it fairly quickly just for your sake. First of all, let's talk about what types of ads you can run. I'm just going to cut to the chase. The best performing ads are listing ads that are showing off a listing. People, you got to think of the mindset of somebody that's that higher in the funnel, they're cold, they're not ready to move right now. What are they thinking? What are they wanting? They just want to look at cool houses of pictures, right? They just want to think and dream and imagine, oh, that looks like a house I could be interested in, or whatever. And so because of that, they have lower intent. So in my experience, I'll show you one I did with Keller Mortgage, horrible metrics. It's a big value proposition, but it's not the mindset that people are at when they're scrolling on Facebook. They're not going to just like pop up a thing and put in their social security number so they can get pre-approved, that's not the the modality that they're in or whatever. So you really just have to play the game that they're already in. When they're sitting on their couch, Netflix and chilling and scrolling Facebook, they want to see pictures of houses. So grab one of your own listings. I'll advertise mine even after it's pending all the way right through closing. Because frankly, what if the deal falls apart? I want to have as many people in the hopper as I can to call and say, hey, this had sold, it's back on the market now. Do you have any interest? It's good for your clients and it's good for you anyhow. So that's my 2 cents. Advertise them all the way through closing. If you don't have any listings, perfectly fine. Post in your neighborhood or your office Facebook groups or whatever you guys have, and just say, hey, anybody have a listing that you want me to advertise on Facebook? I just did that a couple days ago and I had like 3 or 4 people that were like, sure, here's a listing. So you can grab one of your other colleagues' listings with their permission and run ads on it as well. It helps that listing agent anyways, because then they can be like, hey, we've got multiple ad campaigns running. We're doing everything we can to sell your house as an office. And it looks good for the listing agent too, in my opinion. So think of that. The other thing I'm going to tell you to think about is when you're writing your copy for the ad, this is one that I just did, performed pretty well. This one was at $2.08 a lead. Generally, don't give them the address, don't give them the price, and rarely the city. And you're like, well, that's super annoying because that's exactly what the buyers want. Yeah, honestly, it is. And that's the point, because your goal really is to get them to click learn more so that you can capture their information. If you give them the address, they're not going to submit their information. They're just going to go Google it and find everything they wanted to know anyways. Then they're going to click a button to learn more on that property, and their info will get sold to 5 of your competitors, right? So generally avoiding those things. You want to dangle a carrot. You have to think like a marketer of, you know, look at this house, it's got many upgrades, but there's also, everyone wants a deal, right? So my wording on here was really trying to tag into, tap into that demographic that's looking for a deal. So you can, this is definitely was like an entry-level home. So big equity potential, it's going to be a deal, own it for less than rent, right? Maybe pulling somebody out of a renter that's looking for their first purchase. And it's in a great location, right? So you're kind of speaking the language to all those pain points, both for, you know, the logical thinkers that want a great deal versus the ones that want a pretty house with upgrades, right? So you're trying to think, what are people thinking? How am I going to kind of speak to each of those different, you know, brains that we're going to be seeing your ad? And then always click learn more below for all details is what I end my ads with. If you do that, and then it's also down here, that'll get considerably better results for you. If I switch to the mobile feed, it doesn't show up on the bottom here normally. I think on your phone, it actually won't do that. But then you can see it here. You can also see that this is really short. I'm almost positive when I did this on the other preview thing, it's all within the, you know, above the fold in there. So, so just some things to think about. Occasionally I will do text on top of it, which is something I'll just point out if you want to try that. Let's see if this one pulls up. This was $2.50. You can see again, so this house I sold was, I don't remember, 3,800 square feet or something. It was really big, like 6 bedrooms. So I'm thinking of what's the avatar of the person that I'm marketing to. It's going to be somebody that wants more space, right? They got a growing family, maybe they need more bedrooms. So that's what I wrote this copy for, is need more space. The home's gorgeous. It's now at an even better price. Again, trying to help people feel like they're getting a great deal. Click learn more to see the virtual tour, right? So that's another carrot you can dangle of, ooh, sweet, I want to learn more. So then they'll inquire on that. Generally, I will tell you, front of the house pictures work the best. And typically I'm seeing only doing 1 photo is best, as opposed to if you run your ad with 3 or 4 different photos. People's attention span is only so long. So if you spend their attention span scrolling through a few photos on there, then it's probably good enough and they'll just move on, versus, you know, clicking learn more to opt in to get more information. So those are a couple of them. I'm trying to think. I have run a whole number of different other types of ads. Pretty much disappointed every time, to be honest with you. But if you want to get creative, here's one that I did to advertise our new apps. I'm not really sure what I was thinking with that one, because you can't really track any metric. You know, it's kind of a, I don't know. That one's $15 per lead, which is horrible. Another one that does perform generally fairly well, if you don't have a listing and you can't find any in your office, here's another style of ad you can do. I created this in designs inside of Command. Basically, I took some of my old listing photos, frankly, ones that look like they were big lot sizes. And basically I put together a homes list, and I just said, you know, here, click learn more for 1 acre or more homes that are under 350, right? Trying to appeal to those that are looking for a little bit more space. Let me show you how I made that too, which is super slick. So if you go to your KW sites, and let's just, you know, whatever. Let's say I'm saying look for homes in this search area, and then you can come over here and you can filter buy more things. So when I did that one, I just did, where can I get 1 acre or more, right? And then the maximum price of 350. Okay. So then when you do that, it does that search. Now, what's really cool about it is you can just copy this URL. And then if you just paste that URL, it brings it in with all that same criteria. And so then they can see, oh, snap, it didn't work. It definitely worked when I tested it a couple months ago. Oh, it is. I'm sorry, it's searching. It's just zoomed in. Had me worried for a second. Right, but it brings it in with that criteria for you. You know, and I think it will pull off of their GPS, you know, for their location or whatever. But so then when you're running your Facebook ad, you can just make that the link that after they click learn more, it sends them that link, and bada bing, bada boom. You got them on your website. They can save properties. They can get pre-approved. They can do a whole bunch of good stuff right there.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So just circling back just a little bit, you said the front of house pictures seem to do better.
Yeah.
Did you ever try the same ad with the inside kitchen picture, it's usually a nice picture, and the outside, and test it to see which one got better hits? I mean, what's causing you to believe that the outside pictures are better?
Yep. I've heard it several different places, and I have also tested it.
Okay.
I've done a ton of split testing. So, and I don't think these are going to help us, but I'm actually pulling up an old one that I did a few months back. Let me see if this will refresh it. My account was having an issue where it didn't pull in the lead numbers for me. But let me see if this will refresh, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if we're looking at this house right here, this 123rd. So here's $333 a lead. Here's $3 a lead. And I don't even know what it's going to show us, but yeah, it won't pull them in for some reason. But anyhow, you can see here, like I did one that was the inside kitchen picture on the home. Oh, this one actually I did multiples, you know, but then I've split tested that. I've also split test with doing something like this. So this was what my coach and I had been doing, and that was having our best result, was something like this with like 5 pictures. That's actually just one image with 5 inside of it, like a collage. You can't click on them, but people think you can, so then they'll click on it, and then it gives them the thing to learn more, so you got them halfway there. Yes, but to that point, I would say, honestly, try it for yourself. Run 2 ads. You got to run them both at the same time. Run one with typically like a kitchen or main part of the house type of picture, and then run the other one with the front of house and see which one shows up better for you. But pretty much always whenever I've done it, before command and with command, carousels didn't work as well, and inside pictures didn't work as well. So
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
yeah, you're welcome. Now I'm really intrigued because, okay, there's one. That one was just the kitchen. Yeah, dang it, and it won't show me my cost per lead on that one. Yeah, super good question though. Let me see. Should I, what else do you want to go over, Wendy, or should I run us through how to create an ad?
Well, I'd love to hear from you guys. What would you like to see from Joe? We've got an expert on the line. Can you guys pipe in, either unmute and let us know what you'd like to hear, or put it in the chat box?
I'm curious, once people, so outside of the ones where you're using that specific URL, like you showed us,
Yeah.
what are some other landing pages that you're using? Or like, if you're not using that, where are you sending them?
Yeah, really good question. Thank you. I'm lazy, so I never create a new landing page for my ads ever. It's my own 2 cents. Pretty much always, I will just go same way that I showed you. Let me get you out of here. So like 10130, I will just search for my listing. Is this gonna give it to me? This one's pending, so I think it might not show up. Somebody give me a listing that you have that's live right now. Anybody?
Anybody?
5163 Lannon, Lannon.
Come on.
N is in Nancy, 2 N's. Yep.
Is Is it not going to pull up first? Is it pending? It's probably pending.
It's not pending, but it is active.
Oh. Sorry, I have other criteria. That's
Okay.
I'm like, come on, folks. Oh, this one.
It is, yeah.
So I'll just do exactly what I just did, search for it, find it. Then when you're looking at this, then I'll just go copy this URL and I'll use that as the link inside of my ad.
Smart.
So then if I create a new ad, and I'm just going to go in here to show everybody else what we're looking at. Okay. Advertise. Don't do Instagram or Twitter. I've heard they perform considerably worse for whatever reason. Give me 516311. All statuses, all listings. Okay, so then I can find your listing, select. So then what we're talking about there is on your Facebook ad. If you come down here, first of all, super, super important. You always want to be using Facebook lead gen form. Okay. Don't ever use the site or landing page. If you do that, when they click learn more, it just takes them to the page with all the information. You're never going to capture anyone's information unless you do the lead gen form. For those that aren't familiar with, when you do lead gen form, once they click learn more, a little thing pops up, bloop, and then it puts in your name, phone number, and email from your Facebook profile data. And then when they submit, they have to just confirm it. Then that automatically comes to you. So you're not going to get nearly as many wrong name, phone number, and emails, but it also isn't going to give them anything until they hit submit. Once they do hit submit, then it'll go to this follow-up URL. And that's that URL that I pasted, which is this site here. Okay. So again,
that's on your agent site, your KW agent site, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
So now they're on your landing page.
Yeah. So then this is what they're looking at, right? They, oh, if you want to save it, cool. Sign in, right? They can't really do much. It gives them all the information. It gives them all the stuff. If they want to go get pre-approved, they can start that. If they want to schedule a tour, they can do that. They can learn about you. They can do all the other stuff. It'll also ask them if they want to download the app as soon as it opens it up, if they're on a mobile device. So it's very, very sticky versus, you know, if you just create a single property landing page, they can't do anything. They can't really search anywhere else. They can't save. They can't do anything. So that's why I really, really like doing this option. And that's in that follow-up URL form there. Yeah. Anybody have more questions? Or I can run through this too. There's quite a few pointers I can give you on this, but I'd be happy to just specifically focus on what you guys have questions on.
I did have someone in the chat say, can you show us how to walk us through what he does here?
Sure. Yep, I will. Everyone's got their own style, so I'll show you how I do mine. They seem to work pretty well, but obviously you can test things for yourself and see what you prefer. So, and I've already gone over some of this with you, right? Because I selected that listing, it pulled in her listing description and it pulled in the picture. You can usually use some parts of that. I normally don't include details much like bedrooms, but this would be where I put in, you know, whatever it is. Ashley, tell me something great about this house. What's like the biggest selling point somebody might want this house?
It has 6 bedrooms.
Okay, so then we're gonna definitely hit the you know, whatever. Okay, so this room is move-in ready. Okay, I'm very intentional about using uppercase letters regularly. It doesn't have to actually make grammatical sense, but I want to highlight, I want people's eye to catch, oh, move-in ready. Oh, great location, you know, really highlight things to keep their brain and their attention span moving along. I'm also a huge fan of using emojis. So what are we thinking? Sometimes I'll even do weird ones. You know, like, I don't know. What's a good like space thing? I don't know, whatever. Just pick something that almost is like out of the ordinary of like, why is this guy putting a picture of a moon in my, like, what does that have to do with real estate, right? Because they're going to stop for half a second and they're going to think, and they're going to be like, oh, it needs more space, right? Hey, look, let's put a little astronaut guy. I like that one better. Okay. Do stuff like that because it's a pattern interrupt that will catch their attention, and then it'll get them to stop scrolling. I like to try and focus on, evoking an emotion within whatever I'm trying to communicate, like great location, ooh, starry eye, whatever, like maybe I'm gonna really like it. And then of course I'm gonna say click learn more for all the details, okay? Very short, very sweet. They give you up to 250 characters. I would say look at half that, right? 6-bedroom is probably going to be kind of a distinct polarizing thing. I might split test that ad copy. Split testing, by the way, just means running 2 ads at the same time, but slightly different variations, and then seeing which one performs better. Then you can the first one, you keep going with the second one. 6 bedrooms, again, is something that's very distinct. It's hard to find. There's going to be people out there that would just love to have a lot more space because for the love, we've been stuck inside with the kids with the coronavirus, and you could really appeal to people with that. It could also shoot you in the foot for people that only want 4 bedrooms. That might feel too much. So I would split test it and just say like, large, plenty of room, space for everybody. Don't say family, but you can do something like that. Okay. Oh, if I could type. Okay, something like that again. Whatever it is. I do also usually try and put in like, one thing I'll say too, what's the price point of this one, Ashley?
$2.99.
Okay. One thing you guys can try, I don't put the price in there, but if it's something that like, if it looks like a $350,000, $400,000 house, but it's under 300, then I might do something like that to dangle that carrot again. That's as close as I'll get to doing the price myself. You can do something like that. Again, I'm not really saying it's in Albertville because maybe they only want to go to Rogers or something. You might do something like that, okay, in your area. I don't know what their area is, but if they're already living there, they probably don't hate that area. So just play with it and do something like that. I'll do the click learn more again in the description there. You'll see here that doesn't show up in the mobile feed, but it will show up in certain web previews. There's like 5 web previews, so I don't know why it's not showing us that. But then you can do that again, throw in an emoji or 2. Sounds really silly, but it stops people's scroll the more things you have to catch their eye. So, okay. As far as your graphics go, I usually don't really get too complicated. It'll pull in the first photo from KWLS. I can click more and I could try an inside photo. I can try different outside photos or whatever. You can also, if I click add images, this will allow you to pick from your designs library. So then we can see here's all the different designs that I've made inside of the designs applet and command, right? So then if you've made one, I can do that. You can also just create a new one right here if you'd like to. I think I have to pick one or it's gonna not work, so let's try it. You could also do video. I have not personally done a lot with videos for listings for lead gen. Typically those things don't go together in one spot. Generally, for the most part, a single photo of the front of the house is the best versus a video, again, which is going to take up a lot of their attention span, and they'll probably check out. But so you can play with those, see what you want to do. Generally, don't put a lot of text across it. You will keep it as wide, and I don't want multiples. Okay. We do have to have our ownership statement thing, which is kind of unfortunate, but that'll add those little guys in there. We talked already about the Facebook ad section of it here. You'll have to select your business page, click lead gen form. Learn more is the one that I always leave it on. And then drop that property website that you're looking at there. Okay. Last part that I think is super important. When you're doing your ad targeting, I always hit custom settings. And I don't care where the listing's at. I'm gonna always advertise the same area. Come on. By the way, you have to type out Minnesota. If you do MN, it won't find it. So no matter where the listing's at, I don't care. I always wanna, I'm essentially digitally geo-farming, right? So I'm always going to hit the same people. Even if the property's somewhere else, they don't know the difference because I'm not advertising Albertville in Ham Lake, right? But I've gone through and I actually pulled up Northstar to put a pin on the map and see what a 15-mile radius will get me to get into the part of town that I like to work in. So for me, 15-mile radius off of Ham Lake is where all of my ads always go to, so that I'm always farming from the same pond. 15 miles is the smallest they'll allow you to do it because they don't want us to be like, steering or not serving the whole community, and trying to do specific neighborhoods. So we can't do that anymore. 15 miles is the biggest one. So I would always do that. If you want to get real fancy, you can also click to add interests. And I'll give you a few that I've done. I don't know that it makes a huge difference, but some say it does and some say it doesn't. So you can type realtor.com, do the regular one, don't do pro, because that's obviously going to target agents. Same thing with Zillow. You can target Zillow, but don't do Zillow Premier agents. I think there's one that's renter's insurance. Or here we go. You can do kind of any renting ones you want, rent.com or renter's insurance. You can also do mortgage. And if you do that, okay, pretty much any of those that you think will apply for you. So you can click a bunch of those. I wouldn't overthink it. If you're short for time, just don't worry about it and run it. But that'll add that in here too. That will then start your ad by targeting people that have those types of interests, those types of internet search history. And supposedly it optimizes your ad a little bit better. Okay. Then last, you can select your budget. It starts you off at 10 days, 30 bucks and $3 a day. I've generally heard not to go over like $10 a day because you're going to be pushing too much at the platform. It doesn't want everyone to only always see your ad. So it's going to throttle you anyways, which means that your cost per lead is going to go up. The cost to get in front of them is going to just get more expensive. So you're literally just throwing money away. I have tested it a couple of times and it definitely proved true for me that they're only going to let you get in front of so many people. So you can increase your budget, but you also need to increase your area to hit a broader group of people because it's only going to show it to so many people so many times for that. So generally, I think I've heard just leave it at the 30 bucks and then run it for 10 days, see how it goes. I don't usually run ads for much longer than that because I'm going to see how they performed, tweak some things, and then rerun it and go from there. If you are going to split test, though, you need to run them both at the same time, maybe with 15 bucks or something each, because running it this week and then changing it, doing it this week, and then saying, well, one's better than the other. Well, it's an auction platform, so the cost per lead in general on Facebook could have been different. And so it won't give you a good comparison there. So, cool. We're almost at 2 o'clock. Give me some questions. Anything else I can go over for you guys?
Anybody have anything else? This has been great, Joe. I think their brains are full.
Good.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can I ask a question actually? Do you just keep running it for the life of the listing?
Yeah, I will kind of, like I said, I'll run it for 10 days. I'll see how it performed, and then I'll either duplicate it and run it again, or usually I'll duplicate it, edit it, make a few tweaks, and see if I can get it to perform better. And then I'll I'll essentially just keep doing 10-day campaigns. I don't necessarily do one for 30 days or whatever.
Right.
How do you tweak it?
Let me show you. So if I, you're sure you want to do the page? Yes. So if I just go in here, you know, let's see, I ran one on this one. So then I can come in here, duplicate the campaign and say I want to customize it. You know, then we'll just, it brings it back up with everything you had before. So usually it's to add text, you know, maybe I'll try some different text to, instead of going after, you know, someone that needs more space, I'll try and hit the luxury angle of somebody that's looking for a really nice house or something. Or maybe I'll keep the text the same and I'll change the image, you know, like that one that I did with a little text and an icon on top that says, you know, this is a great house or whatever, you know. Got to see the kitchen, you know, something like that to dangle a carrot. But so then I'll do that, update the days on it, and then go from there.
Great.
Cool.
Anybody else?
Well, thank you so
I have a
much.
quick question.
Yeah, Joe.
Joe, when you do your ads, and if you don't have a listing right now, and I'm going to use Ashley as an example because you were using her as an example earlier with her stuff. Do you change the text on top of that if you're using somebody else's ad, or do you try to leave what they have in there the same?
I definitely always change the text because what makes a good paragraph listing description is not at all what makes a good 250 character snippet. So I'm always going to change it. You won't necessarily have even seen, if Ashley runs it, you won't have seen what her text is anyways. So I would just look through the listing, talk to the listing agent, say, hey, you know, who's going to like your house? What's the avatar? Who are we trying to target? Thinking like a marketer, and then create your own ad copy from that. Good question. Cool.
I think that's great.
All right, guys. Well, I love it.
Awesome.
Before you go, can I ask you guys one favor for me?
Yes.
My not so conspicuously displayed thing behind me, it says 63 kids will age out of foster care every day. And it's an organization and a cause that my wife and I really believe in. So a organization that we're supporting is called the Real Hope Project. So if you guys would do me a favor, I would love for you just to go like their Facebook page. It's called the Real, R-E-E-L, Hope Project. And basically they create profile videos for foster kids that are waiting to get adopted. And so you can just share those and maybe a foster kid will get adopted. So
is it Real, R-E-E-L-H-O-P-E Project?
Yep.
Facebook page. I'm putting it in the chat.
Yeah, it is. I'll even pull it up. Super cool organization. They're out of Robbinsdale. I don't know if you can even see my screen, but so they just create little profile videos on kids that are waiting to get adopted. And they have, it's something like a 3 times greater chance of getting adopted when they create a reel off of them, just versus like the average kid that doesn't. So really cool organization. So cool.
Great.
Well, thanks guys. I'm glad everybody showed up. You guys got a killer turnout. I wish my outfit showed up like you guys do.
Yeah, we had 22 on here today, which was great. My goal was 25, so we're close.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys. See ya.
Awesome. You too.
Okay, thanks.